Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Kicking Balls FC. And this is actually day plus one of that awful last game, the pre World Cup game that we know of the US men's national team, in which the game ended up 0-0, unfortunately, you know. And what can we talk about this game that we already don't know already? That it was uninspiring, lackluster. It was not pretty whatsoever. And I don't know if it had to do with the weather as well, because there was rain and the pitch kind of looked a little different. But again, it's the same thing. It's almost like beating up a dead horse, right? We're still talking about the problems that Greg Berhalter is having. He's not a good coach. He doesn't know the type of players to select. He's thinking that he's running a club team instead of a national team. And I think Eric Ronaldo, if you ever see him on a soccer show on the XM radio, he said it the best. As a national team coach, your job is not to teach. Your job is to select the best players available in order for them to bring out their best potential, right? And that's what they have to do. But Greg is not that type of person. He's a systems kind of guy. And I guess that what made me kind of ticked off and pissed off most of the time is just the interviews that he says is like, yeah, we sorted out some things. That's all he said. He wasn't specific on the things. Well, I have some things that I want to get off my chest. And these things that I would like to say is that these system things, they're not working, Greg. I don't know about you, but the whole world knows your secret is out there, right? And what's so funny is that now the mainstream media, we're talking like ESPN, Fox Soccer, yeah, ESPN Deportes, Univision, Telemundo, they're all seeing basically the light. They are finally seeing what was wrong with Greg Berhalter's coaching, his system, and his player selection, right? Because I think for them, we can't be too hard on them, but we should, no matter because these are the same media people that was telling us fans, the people that were watching this, they think we're stupid. They think we're amateurs. They think we can't know what's wrong with the soccer team if it's right in front of us. No, they don't know what's wrong. And it was these friendlies that were outside of CONCACAF, right? Because these are the same media pundits saying, oh, well, CONCACAF is really hard. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, but Canada figured it out how to manage CONCACAF, but then they kind of laid an egg at the very end of, qualifying. Canada did qualify, but then they did lose the last two away games, and they saw that it was not easy whatsoever. And I think if some of the Central American countries would have figured some stuff out earlier, I don't think Canada would be in this position. They probably could have at least qualified, at least not first place, but somewhere comfortable. But again, going back, to Greg Berhalter and then the game itself, like, oh, it was just painful just to watch the replay. And there was some, I would say, improvement, if you can call it that, with the Saudi game, right? And I know they were trying so hard on things, but I don't know if it was the players being nervous about this, but they're professionals. They should be not nervous. They should put 110% into the game. And I keep saying the same thing over and over again. And people don't believe me. And I still, stand by this statement. The last couple of World Cup teams, and I'll even talk about the 2010 team and the 2002 team, even the 2006 team, right? So the 2002, 2006, 2010, 2014, you know, those teams, even though they weren't that talented, they still had a lot of grit. They had a lot of faith. They had a lot of balls, right, to play the game. That American attitude, that underdog moment in which They knew they didn't have the much talent. They knew that, they were not good technical, but they run their ass in the field and push themselves to the limit. And we saw that, especially in the 2002 World Cup and the 2010 World Cup, in which you saw that the United States, even though they weren't, had a lot of star players. Most of them had a couple of European players and some MLS players, but they were a very disciplined team, right? And they always fight to the bitter end. And look at back at all of the games that they narrowly lost. There wasn't a game in which you think, oh well, they were blown out of the water. No, there were some group games, yeah, sure, but in 2002, if you notice, they played until the very end, all the games, especially against that Germany game. I still think that the United States should have won that game, that quarterfinal. I think if VAR was available at the time, that would have been a red card to Frings, and then we probably would have tied that game and even would turn the tables as well. And, there was a lot of anti US sentiments, especially for soccer right there. And I still believe that, call me crazy, because if we would have beat Germany in 2002, we could have played against South Korea, a team that we've known very well, and we knew how to play against them, right? Even though we tied against them, we knew how to beat them. And then can you imagine? Imagine if history was a little different and we beat South Korea and we would have gone actually to the World Cup final. Now, that's where the dream stops. Now, I know for sure that the United States was not going to win, a World Cup final. I'm not saying that, but we could have at least dreamt of getting into that final. And that would have been like the most high mark moment, in North American soccer history, right? A CONCACAF nation going in to a FIFA World Cup final. But I think still in that time, the United States would probably fight to the better end. They probably would have lost, probably 2-0, kind of like the same thing as Germany, right? But it would make it hard for them. Or it could even be 1-0, just like what they happened in the 94 World Cup, in which the United States made it very difficult for Brazil, to score. And even the Brazilians said later after that game, it was like that, like out of all the games, the United States was the toughest right there. And go to the 2010 World Cup, in which, probably is one of my top two World Cup favorite moments, in which, that even though they were 2 goals down, they always fought back. They responded and they almost won that game. And then we already knew what happened to that stupid, referee that blew the whistle for an offside or whatever foul there wasn't around right there. And Maurice Seydoux was stolen a goal right there, man. Maurice Seydoux, if you're ever hearing this, you were robbed, my friend. That should have been the most epic comeback of United States history in the World Cup. And then what can we say about the Algeria goal, right? That goal that, they were just pushing it. And even when we lost against Ghana in the round of 16, you could tell that this team was fighting to the very end. Ghana was just hanging on by a thread. I'm serious. It could have gone either way if, the defense would have sharpened up a little bit, and if, again, you don't trust the guys, trust the players that know how to play the game, right? And I always remember that time where, Bob Bradley substituted Ricardo Clark out of the game to put Maurice Seydoux, and he probably thought, "Oh, I should have put Maurice Seydoux right then and there, starting the game instead, of Ricardo Clark, right?" So you're seeing from me, I know my USMNT knowledge right there. I've been there. I've seen this team since the 1994 World Cup. The 94 World Cup, in which I saw with my very eyes when I went to see them in Pasadena when they beat Colombia. And ever since then, I've been a fan of them, even after that fiasco that happened in 98 in France. But 2002 was what really made me a USA fan. That was the World Cup that changed everything for me in 2002, right? I was around 12 years old when that happened. That kind of shows my age a little bit. So, always a diehard US fan. But from what I'm seeing right now from this US team right now, even though they have the most talented, they has the most potential, I don't see it. I don't see it with this system. I don't see it with this coach. I see a bunch of players that are too nervous. They are trying things that they're not comfortable with and playing in positions that they're not comfortable with, but that they're mentally they're being forced to play those positions. in which they're not comfortable. And that is what is hurting this team. Look, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What you're trying to do is use the best players that are available in your pool right now that are playing in Europe regularly, or even some MLS uh, players that are playing regularly to the potential to go to Europe, right? Look, I want to make something crystal clear. I am not anti MLS, right? I'm not. I actually like the MLS. I like to, watch MLS, LAFC, LA Galaxy, all those things. But my problem is the selection of MLS players. Some MLS players are just not European type material, if that makes any sense. So, for example, a player that has been snubbed so many times, in my opinion, that should be in this team is Mihalovic. Mihalovic, who plays for Montreal, an amazing, amazing player that already played Champions League, CONCACAF Champions League. And if it wasn't because of, you know, uh, unforeseen injuries, he probably would have taken the position of Roldan or Areola or Jordan Morris, because this kid is going places, and he even signed a deal to go to the Netherlands in the wintertime. And that's what kind of frustrates me a little bit, that Greg Berhalter is just putting a lot of faith in this MLS lifters or lifers or whatever the hell you want to call them, right? That are never going to move to Europe, that are never going to challenge themselves, but that are too comfortable staying in MLS. That's my problem right there. Because when you start being too comfortable, that is what makes mediocrity happen at that moment right there. Mediocre, unenthusiastic, just lackluster effort right there. And you could send the Twitter people on me on Kicking Balls FC, but I'm right, right? Because yeah, they could play like the best soccer in their life in their MLS club, but come to the national team, it's a bust, right? You can't tell me otherwise, right? And that's not to say that there are some players that are MLS that could become really good players if you put them in the right position, right? Case in point, Jesus Ferreira. I keep talking about that kid. Really good striker, right? I don't think that's his position that he should play. He's plays as a 10 in FC Dallas, right? But all those chances that he gets, he snuffs them. And when you in the World Cup, when you're in the international stage, you need to be clinical. You need to finish those chances, even if they're half chances. Yes, it is unfair, but that's how soccer is, and that's how they judge you, especially if Ferreira is thinking about going to Europe, and I know he is thinking about it, right? And you also have to make sure that you pick the right club to go to, that you're going to play significant minutes, that they have like a long-term project, and that the coach has confidence in you to deliver, right? And you can kind of see that with Ricardo Pepi, went to the Bundesliga. Maybe it was a jump too far, I don't think it was. I don't think he picked the right team in the Bundesliga, because Augsburg is just a dumpster fire. All right. I'm sorry to say, because all their players were never helpful for Ricardo Pepi, never passing him the ball. And, it's just basically Ricardo Pepi trying to make something out of nothing as hard as he could. And, you can't blame him. And then the minute he jumps into the Netherlands, he actually scored a goal, beautiful goal, right? Because he's getting service, competent service, I might add. And competent service is not something that Augsburg has. But I digress. Going back to the USMNT, right? The Saudi Arabia game, I don't know. I don't know what to say. And uh, like, I want to be hopeful. I want to be enthusiastic about this team. I really do. I am like reaching to the depths of hope that something could happen. Like maybe when the World Cup starts, that's when they start clicking, right? But this isn't a movie, this isn't fantasy, this is real life, and my heart can only take so much, right? And from what I'm seeing from the past two friendlies, in my verdict is that this is going to be a bust for the USMNT. Right. My head says it's going to be a bust. My heart says that they could turn it around. And I want to know which one of them is going to be right at the end. because, you know, ever since we lost that qualification to Russia 4 years ago, it's never been the same. I've been more critical with the USMNT. And you can call me toxic, you can call me, all sorts of things, but you cannot deny that there's something seriously wrong with this US men team, from coach to player selection, and even some of the other coaches that work with the team. So, if you could be critical to the players, you should be critical to the coach as well, because his tactics just doesn't work. He doesn't adjust, and that's what's scary. Because good international managers adjust, especially during the game. Because if you can't adjust, you're not competent, and you should not be a national team manager. That is my take right there. So, um, the next thing is, let's talk about what the other opponents look like in the group, B, with the United States, right? So, England tied against Germany. It was a very wild game. I did see it. It was on, FS1, and England uh basically looked kind of like defeated because they were losing against Germany. Then they went back and they went up comeback. Then they started winning when they did the substitutes, but then Germany came back to tie the game at the very last minute. So it depends what type of England team is going to come up, right? Is it an England team that is going to slow down in the first game or pick it up later on? You don't know, because I think England is just like the same version of the United States in Europe, because I think Southgate is somehow related to Greg Berhalter. I think they're just been separated by birth and different accents. It just seems that way, because even Southgate has his own guys that he trusts that shouldn't be in the England team, like Maguire. Like, if Maguire is in that England team versus the United States or anybody else, watch out, England. I'm warning you right now. But I even some English fans already know that Maguire shouldn't even be in this team. So, that's the case right there. The next game is Wales versus Poland. So Wales lost again versus Poland. Uh, uh, Poland won 1-0 by Lewandowski's assist. Lewandowski is on fire, man. If I'm in that group with Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and Mexico, don't count this Poland team out just yet. They're going to be a force right there. Um, and Wales, well, they did try to fight as much against Belgium, but this against Poland, they looked a little poor. So it just depends what type of Wales team is going to come in the World Cup. If this Wales team comes up with this World Cup, then I think the United States even has a chance. But but then again, even the United States could like blow it as well. Iran, the last opponent, tied against Senegal. And Senegal is on Group A, by the way, with Qatar, Ecuador, and Netherlands. So Senegal kind of got an idea of how Qatar is going to operate as well as the home team. So Senegal could be one of those opponents in the round of 16. And so Group B should really look at that as well. So what do I say? Between England, Wales, and Iran actually looks competent. I don't think Iran is going to be a very easy game to go to. They won against Uruguay, playing on the low block and going to the counterattack. And they did tie against Senegal. Iran is going to be a very, very tough team to break down, right? And you got to be careful because they will punish you in the counterattack. And especially since Iran is so close to Qatar, uh, don't be surprised if they have an overwhelmingly home crowd there in Qatar. So you have been warned, England, Wales, and the United States, right? Uh, some other things I wanted to talk about as well was CONCACAF in general. So Costa Rica won against Uzbekistan 2-1. But again, what do I say about that? Nothing you can do about it. Uzbekistan is not even part of the World Cup. It is an Asian opponent, so I think Costa Rica was trying their best to play against an opponent that was similar to Japan, but I don't think that is accurate. Japan is much more stronger. So Costa Rica, the only thing they have them going is that they have Keylor Navas, but Keylor Navas can only save you so much because if he gets hurt, like when he got hurt in World Cup qualifying, you're gonna have serious problems right there. Canada, even though Canada looked really good, they actually wasted their chances. And they lost against Uruguay 2-0, and it was only 2 shots on goal. And Uruguay is a quality team in which if they get some shots, they will punish you right there. So Canada should look really good, but again, it's very worrisome. Qatar is Qatar. I wouldn't put too much about it. Look, even the United States Z team beat Qatar in the Gold Cup, so you can't take much away from them. So, but again, Canada could improve on some things. Davey shouldn't do everything by himself. He shouldn't be playing hero ball right now. Trust your players, but I think the experience could play a factor. But Canada could shock people. I think they could. Will they? I'm not too sure. But Canada is like maybe one of the 4 CONCACAF nations that I do like the way they play. They play like really good, and I will be cheering on for Canada in the World Cup. Next one, Mexico versus Colombia. Ooh, that one. That one, I really thought that Mexico was going to turn it around. I really thought in that first half they looked really good, and then in the second half, everything fell apart. Everything with those 2 quick goals in 5 minutes and that golazo by Colombia, and then you know, like I don't know in which situation I would rather be in Mexico's situation, Costa Rica's situation, Canada's situation, the United States situation because they all look pretty dire, but mostly more on the United States, in my opinion. But that was CONCACAF, right? I don't believe that CONCACAF is going to have a very good World Cup this year, not like they did against in Brazil, in which 3 of the 4 CONCACAF nations, went ahead to the round of 16. But going back to the United States, is it time to press the panic button? Yes, I absolutely believe so. I think so because if you don't have your main players, if you don't have Musa, if you don't have Weah, if you don't have Jedi Robinson, if you don't have uh, you know, uh PFOC, which he should at least have a chance, especially for a substitute, you're gonna have some problems, right? And we can see that. The only time I keep saying that we saw a very good United States team was probably that game against Mexico in Cincinnati. They looked amazing. They were a team that gave you fear, especially right. But those injuries really hurt us, and I just think, man, like the injuries that happened at the last minute really hurt us, especially Chris Richards. I think Chris Richards is better uh partnered with Zimmerman than Long. Long is just, I don't know. I'm just so sick and tired talking about how awful Long is. It's just that it's just beating another, dead horse as well. Turner is like the only one that came out of this camp that got me thinking he's going to be the number one keeper. Has to be. He has to be because he knows how to. He's a shot stopper, and in the World Cup, you need a shot stopper. And Zach Steffen has not convinced me whatsoever that he's the man. He's the number one for the United States. I just don't think he is. He doesn't have the quality yet. And if he gets injured again, if he doesn't get healthy, then Turner is going to be the one. And then if Turner needs to be substituted, then I think that Ethan Horvath should be the next one in line because he is good. Because when you need him in a pinch, especially in a tournament, you've seen it in the Nations League, he can do it. He can so do it. So, um, yeah, the panic button, and what do I expect from the United States in this World Cup after this window? I don't know. I- like I said really before, I really want to hope on this team. I really do. I really want to just dig in the depths of hope that this team could turn it around in the World Cup because it happened before, especially the United States team in 2002, in which they lost a lot of their last minute friendlies before going to Japan, and they just tore it up in Japan. But I don't know if that's going to happen this time, because just the way they play lethargically, they played without courage, without attitude, with a chip on their shoulder, and I don't know. I just don't know if it's going to translate. For me, in my head, I say that the United States is going to tank this World Cup. This is not the World Cup for the United States. And it's such a shame because, with this amount of talent that they have, they should be playing better, and it should actually bring more enthusiasm, bring more excitement, and like all news stations should start reporting about it, like in 60 Minutes and other news stations, about like how we should all support the United States team upcoming November, right? And it's not it. I don't see it. I just see a bunch of talented players that look lost, in my opinion. And in my head, I'm gonna say they're just gonna tank. They probably maybe will tie a game. Winning, hey, let's face it, that would actually be, you know, bonus points if they win. Hell, even if getting a shot on target is a win right there, because it's just, and I don't want to be a bummer, but that's just the way I feel, right? And that's why it's called Kicking Balls FC. It's a kick in the balls, and I'm giving you the reality at the moment. And is there hope? Yeah, there can be. There many things could change in 2 months, but the thing that doesn't change is that Greg Berhalter is still going to be the manager. That's not going to change, and that's the deal breaker, in my opinion. But overall, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this U.S. team? Are you hopeful? Are you like me? Like, you have two sides, your head and your heart, in which your head says the United States are just going to tank. They're not going to go, they're not going to be excitement. They're going to be an embarrassment. Or is it going to be like your heart saying, like, no, we're going to figure this out. Something's going to happen and everything is going to be just fine, right? Write your comments below on Kicking Ball FC. And I want to thank you guys for letting me share my comments, share my analysis of this United States team, and what do I think about this coach. And I already said it so many times. I don't trust this coach. This coach was the wrong choice. It was the wrong manager, and we're paying the price right now, unfortunately. And I don't blame the U.S. fans for not being enthusiastic as well. Even the American Outlaws are questioning the whole team spirit behind it. So, but there always has to be hope. You can't let it affect you that much as well. So hopefully uh, something does change, and that all the players are get healthy, and that they're playing the best soccer possible in the next 2 months, because the World Cup is basically less than 50 days, guys. It's getting close. And you better believe that I will be doing more United States men's soccer team content, especially the United States team, the players that are playing abroad, and also some of the other players in MLS that should be in this World Cup team, but other ones that uh, are like the Greg's guys. I guess I'll analyze them, but I don't know if they're going to change from now until then. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, guys, it's all about having fun. Maybe Greg will, like, maybe this is all a chess game for Greg. Maybe he purposely made this team look bad, so everyone has this false sense of security, saying, "Oh, this US team is going to be easy to beat." And then at the last minute, he does the ultimate Greg Jedi mind trick, in which he puts his best 11 and everything is okay, right? And it just shocks the world. That's my hope right there, and like other hopes for all US men's national team fans out there, right? That is the hope right there. But again, if you like the content of this video, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when future videos are available. And again, if you want to follow me, I'm going to be at Twitter at Kicking Balls FC. You can always follow me there at Kicking Balls FC, right? And again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And let's see what the United States players are made of. We're going to see if they respond in their club situation. Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Aronson, Zach Steffen, Turner, Jedi, Musa, Tim Weah, Joe Scally, Ricardo Pepe, um, John Brooks, maybe, I don't know, Chris Richards, all of the players, Luca De La Torre, Jordan Peacock, all of those players and more. Hopefully, they do respond, right? Uh, and Serginho Dest, how can I not forget about that guy, right? So hopefully, they do respond on this, right? And hopefully, guys, back this team up as much as you can. But again, think about your health first, right? So don't expect too much, but then again, make sure you keep your uh I would say your expectations at a good level, right? Not too high and not too low. But for me, I'm gonna just keep it as low as possible. So that way, if they do implode at the end, I'm not gonna be shocked. And if they do get high, then we have every right to celebrate, right? So, it's the good and the bad. So again, guys, take care, keep supporting the boys and support not just the men's senior team but also the youth team as well, because the youth have a lot of prospects coming up in the youth system. All right, so again, stay awesome and don't forget to like and subscribe to Kicking Balls FC. All right, guys, stay awesome.